Hello, hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? I am so happy to be here and I hope you are too. Please say hi in the comment section and let me know where you are joining me from. I am Flora Basie, a digital accessibility analyst and expert at Linoratech. I am also founder and CEO. Well, today we are going to talk about accessible website and I'm going to share with you 10 disabilities and 10 lessons that need to be kept in mind. Right. So before we start, I want to share with you two important keys for success. And I believe that those two keys are very important. The first key is about engagement. And I think that engagement is such an important key anywhere where we go, right? For example, if you are a manager, a director, or a leader, you want people to be more engaged with your cause, your initiatives, your projects, right? If you are and also you want for example innovators to be also very much engaged. If you are a developer, if you are a designer, you want people to value your input and also you want to be acknowledged and seen among your peers. For some people, I know some people are introverted, so they might not like that being on the spot, but engagement is such a great opportunity to make things happen. So, to be more engaged, the secret is really to be engaging yourself. And I've learned that from an incredible coach who told me before that what you give is what you get. So I want to encourage you if you're watching this session live or if you're watching this session on a replay to be engaged with the content. I will ask a few questions and I think that once you answer those questions, you will get a tremendous value out of this session. All right. Hopefully, this is a good deal for everyone. And if you're joining me late, just say hi in the comment again. I'm super excited to be here. So that's really my first key to success, to be getting more engagement from others, from leaders, from designers, from innovators, from even people in your network. You need to be engaging yourself. So really encouraging you to be engaging in this session. The second key is around how to be connected in the accessibility movement. Have you noticed that a lot of people have a hard time creating, for example, more inclusive or more accessible digital products, such as website or even document, right? Or even application. The reason this is happening is really because of connection. Let me explain that very quickly, and I hope I am bringing a little bit more clarity before we jump into the meat and juice, which is all about accessible disabilities and lessons. And it's really important to have a good connection with the movement of accessibility. You will notice that, for example, some of you are very passionate about accessibility for the simple reason that you have perhaps in your circle, right, a person with a disabilities. I often heard somebody said, I oftentimes hear people saying, oh, for example, I have a disability myself, so that's why I'm very passionate about this movement. Some people will say, oh, I have my father, or I have my mother, or I have my child, or I have someone I know and care for who has a disability. Therefore, it's quite easy for them to connect with the movement of accessibility. Now, some people may have gotten into the passion of accessibility because it was part of their journey. And I'm explaining, I am one of them. I don't have a disability. I don't per se know people in my immediate circle to have a disability, but I was led in the path of inclusion and accessibility. I have always been passionate about inclusion and always felt like exclusion, ick, it's not good. So once I was, you know, uh, provided with the opportunity to learn a little bit more about inclusion and my understanding that websites are actually not inclusive to all, I was just in. I was just in. I went for it and I started learning a little bit more about inclusion and accessibility. Can you let me know in the comment why are you in the movement of accessibility? If you're passionate about accessibility, can you let me know what got you in this movement? Now, there are a lot of people who feel that, accessibility is just hard. They're not getting the relationship, they're not getting the connection. And I am here to tell you today that this is not your fault. It's quite hard to be embracing something that you cannot relate to. Like, for example, imagine a neighbor coming to see you and with his child and asking you to really lay your life to save this child in case something happened. You might help the child if there is a situation of danger, but at the same time, the child is still a stranger for you. You might maybe not lay down your life to save fully the child just because of different reason, or maybe you have to to save your own, loved ones or anybody else. So all I'm trying to say is that it's a little bit hard to connect with a perfect stranger, a movement that was not in your heart from the get-go. Okay, so if you're having a hard time connecting with accessibility, it's okay. It's okay. But this is what I would like to tell you. Most of the people that are not able to connect say it's because I do not have anybody in my circle who have a disabilities, and I would like to share with you. I'll give you a secret that actually you might know someone who is very close to you. If you give me the permission to do that, to share with you, just say yes in the comment section. Would you like to know a person who has a disability, who is actually who might have a disability, or may have had a temporary disability, who is super close to you? And if you're joining me right now, just say hi in the comment. Loving to see people joining and saying hi. But if you would like to know someone with a disability who is close to you, it's so easy. If you check, if you go to your bathroom, you probably can do that exercise later on. Hi, Linnea. So happy to see you here. If you check, for example, in your house, if you go to your bathroom, if you go to the mirror, you might be able to spot that person, but you can do that exercise later on. Yes, as we are human beings, we may have a temporary disability due to illness, or we may have a permanent disability due to aging factors. I would like to share a quick video very quickly about what I am referring to. Gosh, I feel so so emotional about sharing this video, but I think that it will bring a good point. Let me see. I am gonna do that right now. I don't know if I should share this video because I feel a little bit emotional about the whole thing, but I think it's important. It's important, and I want to be very transparent, very honest with you. If you allow me to be transparent, you can say be transparent in the comment section. Okay, I think that is important. Let's just do that. Okay, I'm gonna share this video right now. Okay.
We are all aging. This is the old me. As we are all aging, we may lose the ability to hear, to see, or even to use a mouse to navigate online due to trembler. We may have to rely on keyboard navigation or voice command. If I was blind, I would have to rely heavily on a program or a software that can read all important information online out loud so I can hear it properly and confidently purchase a good or a product or even request a service on a website. Screen readers can help, but images and custom elements might need more description.
Oh wow, did you see that? Oh my goodness, the first time I saw, I put the filter on me and I saw myself becoming an old person. That was a wake up call. It's quite shocking, right? Sometimes we don't even think that we're gonna be old at some point. We might lose some ability, but it is true. As human beings, we're all aging, and people aging from 40 and up may lose some abilities, as you saw in the video. So let's talk very quickly about 10 disabilities and 10 lessons that need to be kept in mind, especially when we're talking about web accessibility. I'm going to share my screen very quickly. All right, so it's coming. Perfect, and I hope you can see that. All right, so let's talk very quickly about 10 disabilities. The very first one, as I was saying in the video, for example, could be blindness, right? People who are blind oftentimes will rely on software or programs that are more providing them with audible instruction information. So it's quite important when you have a website and you use like images that have important information to have those images with a text alternative, and that text will provide the additional content that is actually captured in the image. Why? Because screen reader cannot read image by default. Now, if you're using a lot of custom element on the website, you also want to make sure that good text instruction or good text alternatives are provided so that again a person, for example, who is blind or a person with low vision can still have all the information to purchase right goods or product or to request services. This is just important. The second disability that I would like to talk about is around the cerebral palsy. So, when it comes to cerebral palsy, a lot of people with cerebral palsy rely on keyboard navigation. Yes, many of them cannot use the mouse because of the movement. They have a challenge with a mouse movement on the screen, but they can use efficiently a keyboard. So when you think about accessibility on website, it's quite important to make sure that all elements that are important and interactive can be navigated with a keyboard. So making sure that, for example, tab, when you press a tab key to move to another element, you have the visual focus, which is an outline line around the element as you navigate, and different other things. I hope this gives you a little bit of clarity. If you never thought that people are using keyboard for navigation, here you have it. People with cerebral palsy will rely on keyboard for navigation. There are also a lot of people with that disability who rely on keyboard for navigation. So when you solve a problem for one group, you're really helping other groups as well. I hope this also gives you a little bit more clarity. And if you have any question, just put it in the comment section and I will try to address it as I am going. But if it's good so far, say yes in the comment. All right, I am going to move forward if that's okay. All right, the next group of disability is about people with who are deaf. As you know, a person who is deaf, or maybe even a person who is hard of hearing, will not, use audible content because they cannot hear audible content, right? So when you have videos or even audio on your website, you want to make sure that you provide like captions. It could be the visible caption, open caption, which is just simply mean that the caption is visible at all time, or it can be closed caption, which is good also because you can flip from open to close, and that really help everyone. You can also provide transcript. All right, so that will help, for example, a person who is deaf to still be a part of the movement or or the understanding of what you're trying to, convey through the video. And I hope that gives a little bit more context and a little bit more clarity as well. Everyone deserves to, experience, hear, or buy things that your company or yourself is providing. So make sure that those options are available in a proper way for everyone. Let's move forward. And again, if you have any question, just drop it in a comment or you can just private message me. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, the next disability is a person with ADHD. The secret, especially when you want to make the website inclusive and accessible to people with ADHD, is really to make sure that your content is simple and organized, clean and organized. You want to avoid things like, sometimes you have a lot of animation happening on the page. It can create distraction and it can also make it hard for a person to digest the information. If you have any animation on the page, for example, just make sure that you have a pause or a stop button that will allow the user just to stop the animation as they are trying to digest some of the information or make a call to buy something. Okay, all right, let's move forward. The next thing I have here is really around people with color blindness. And color blindness is not really a disability that you can see. It's not a visible disability. It is actually an invisible disability. So using color with care and enough contrast is really important. I've seen many websites where people try to be a bit more moody. The designers are trying to be a bit more moody by providing very low contrast so that people can have a sense of peace, right? And zen, if I can say that, right? But sometimes when you make choices with low contrast, a lot of people cannot see the information at all, including people with color blindness. The other thing that is really important for people with color blindness when they want to navigate your website is to avoid using color to communicate something that is important or like a notification. You might put a color, a background color somewhere on a text and say, okay, this is where you have to click for whatever reason, right? You're using color only, for example, to indicate like links right on the page. But people who are color blind might not acknowledge that this is actually a link, right? So you need to add a visual cue. For example, do not use only blue color or whatever color to kind of shift and break from the content around to indicate a link. You may want to add, for example, an underline, or some people will put an arrow or an icon, whatever it is. Do not just use color. You can use patterns around or be more creative. You know, just be creative and have fun. But again, do not use just color to communicate important information. If it's just decorative, that's fine. You can play with color anyhow, anywhere you want, and you can do whatever. But if it's important and it's an indication or information to be provided to people, you may want to add a combination of color and something else. All right, so let's move forward. And then we have the next one, which is about people with learning disabilities. And that's a big question because how do you cater for people with learning disabilities on your website and make them feel welcome and included? Well, it's quite simple. You just need to have clear and readable content. You must want to avoid using too much jargon or even complex sentences. Like if you have a long paragraph, just make sure that you break those complex statements down. Use, for example, headings to break down content. Use bullet point to be more succinct, right? or use a list structure. So list structure is pretty much bullet point, but try to break the information so it's easy peasy to digest, according to my daughter. All right, so let's move on and talk about the next disability and the lesson that needs to be learned. The next disability is around dyslexia. It's quite hard sometimes to create inclusive and accessible content when we think about dyslexia. At least that's what many people will say. But really, there are just few things that you need to keep in mind, especially when you're creating content and you want everyone to be able to access that content and read that content. When it comes to dyslexia, what is important is the font. The font family will matter a lot. If you take a font that is too playful, too distorted, sometimes it's a bit hard for people with dyslexia to perceive the information. That's why you will see in many government agencies they're using plain font. I fully understand that sometimes you want to be a bit more playful, but even when you want to be more playful, try to find a balance if that makes sense. Also, make sure that spacing is really well done, because when if information are too crowded, it's a little bit hard for the person to perceive properly the information. I will even tell you that some people I have known that have dyslexia say they're even using a screen reader so that they can really digest the information. So this is an option, but really work on your font, on your spacing, and making sure that the content is easy and clear as well. All right. So an example could be a sans serif font, right? Just to maintain a little bit of easiness to read and perceive information. You want also to make sure that the size of your content is really done properly. And again, if you have any question, just let me know. I love helping. All right, let's move forward with the next one. So after dyslexia, we have a person with Down syndrome. Now, when you have a person with Down syndrome, what is really important is for the design of the website to be intuitive and consistent. People with Down syndrome rely on consistency and the intuitiveness of the content. For example, when you use a function, an element in a page, like let's say navigation, right? When you have some navigation at the very beginning of the page, and then you move to a different page, like the experience, make sure that it's consistent. You don't just shift navigation from one side to another side because that will create a little bit more confusion for people with Down syndrome. So as you can see that it's just a few tweaks here and here that create inclusion for everyone. Okay, I cannot really go details in this short session because I have just a few minutes left. Let me see. Yes, I have just 6 minutes to wrap up. All right, but if you need more clarity around one of the disability, just get in touch. Let's move on to with the next one. So the next one is a person who has uh, who is deaf blind, and I put a great example here. Uh, we have this amazing person right here. Gosh, I my the name just skipped my mind now, which is quite crazy. I've used her as an example in many places, and if you do remember her name, just put it in the comment section. I know it will come back, but for now, it looks like I have a blank in my brain. I think a friend of mine said it's a brain fart. But this incredible person is actually the first deaf blind person to really graduate from Harvard School, and she is actually a lawyer. You may remember who I am talking about. I am so sorry. I have like a brain fart right now. It's just closed. It's quite funny. But anyway, let's move forward. So, what do you have to keep in mind when you're creating a website with a person who's deaf blind in mind? Is really think about the fact that a person who is deaf and who's blind will not be able to hear, right? And they might not also be able, they will not be able also to see. So that combination can create a little bit more complexity, but it could be simple. You just have to make sure, for example, that the person can navigate with a screen reader. That's about it. And the screen reader can support braille or also support tactile display, because that's really what they will be using to get the information. I remember when she was talking to the President Obama at the time, she used a special keyboard that allowed her to communicate with him, and he will see the information also on the other side. So, or he will type on a different type, special typewriter, so that she will perceive the information. She can speak, she has a voice, she can speak, but she will not be able to hear. But that was quite interesting. I will put her name and her link also in the comment section in case you want to explore and know a little bit about her own journey, which is quite incredible. The other disability, and I think that we probably are at the end, I believe so, but this disability is around voice commands. So, as you know, many of us are already using OK Google, Alexa, or Series, or even more, right? To communicate and have like the GPS show us where we're supposed to go. But there are a lot of people with disabilities who are also using voice command to navigate website. As a matter of fact, I used to have an employee who had a mobility impairment, Ryan. Ryan was just an amazing, incredible person. He used a lot of voice command to navigate websites. Here is what you need to keep in mind when you are really designing for inclusion for people who use voice command. Make sure, for example, if you have image links on the page, like I know some of those cases could come from like a museum, or you using a lot of image link on the page, right? So for products, right? Do not solely rely on the image to provide the information to people, like maybe it's a shirt or it's a pant or whatever it is. Make sure that you have a visible name nearby the image link. And I'm gonna tell you why this is so important. I didn't notice it at first because as a person without a disability, usually I will just use my mouse, right? And I will click on the image link and it will take me to the details, the product details, or whatever it is, it will take me to, right? But when you are using your voice to place a command, like click on the submit button, click on the close link, you need a name to voice the command. So without a visible name, it's hard for the person to click on that specific comment. They have to choose a different or an alternative way to access that specific image link, because they have no clue how do you even call that element. All right, I hope this is giving you enough content, because I've seen that happen a lot of time. People often think that it's okay, they will just know that this is a different video, but some people don't know how do you call this video. So if you have a lot of videos also where a person need to interact with, like a person using a voice comment, they need to know what is the name of that video compared to other videos on the page. All right, I hope this helped. Anyway, so let's move forward, and I think that it was the last one. I want to say thank you to you for joining. And if you like this session, please can you put a like on the video and put a comment. It will mean a lot to me, because that means that I am sharing something that is a bit more valued. Value. And if you didn't like it or you were confused about something, just let me know as well. But I would like to say thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.